Okay, awesome. Cool. Hi, anyone who's just entering. We're going to give it a few moments here, and then we'll get started. Hi, welcome everyone. As you get settled, just enjoy getting settled. And I'm going to go over some announcements in just a few minutes. But get settled in, get ready for some Bay Area poetry. We're going to have a good night. And the poets are excited. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and give y'all some store announcements. I'm Amanda. I'm with Green Apple Books here in San Francisco, or wherever you may be. And tonight we're here with a lot of Bay Area poetry. We're really excited. We have Reyna J Leon joining us, Barbara Jane Reyes, and Alan Chazaro. And I'm going to go over a few of our other upcoming events. So next week on Thursday, March 18th at 6 p.m., we'll be joined by Kazim Ali and Leland Soldier to celebrate Kazim Ali's book, Northern Light, Power, Land, and the Memory of Water. This is a book I'm really excited about. This is an event I'm really excited about. American Poet has said that Ali's lyrics are crafted with a controlled, delicate quality that never stops questioning, never stops teaching, and never stops astounding. That sounds good to me. But it also sounds like a really interesting story. So I'd love to see people make it out to that. And then if you really enjoy tonight, we have a little more Bay Area poetry coming your way on Monday, March 22nd, also at 6 p.m. Kim Adoniso and Bob Hickok will be joining us to discuss Kim's new collection, Now We're Getting Somewhere. So again, if poetry's your thing, which I feel like it is, you should come on out to that. If you've not been to a Green Apple Book event before, they are all free, unless noted otherwise. Those two are free. That being said, we really want to support our authors, our writers. So if you can buy their books, please do. We appreciate it. We know they appreciate it. Why wouldn't you want a good book? Is kind of the wraparound to that. For this particular event, you can find all the books on our website. You can even just go to the event page itself. They're all linked on there, so it's super easy. Okay. And I think we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to introduce Reyna here, and we'll hear from her, and then we'll go from there. So Reyna J Leon is a mother, daughter, sister, madrina, comadre, partner, poet, writer, and teacher educator. She has received fellowships and residencies with the Obsidian Foundation, Community of Writers, Montana Artists Refuge, and MacDowell, among others. She is a member of the SF's Writer Grotto and the Ruby in San Francisco. She is also founding editor of the Acentos Review, an online quarterly international journal devoted to the promotion and publication of Latinx arts. Thanks for being here.
Hey, y'all. I'm really, really excited. I love that Tongo has come in and he's also me because I shared the link. So Amanda, you might have to help him out. I'm so happy to be with you all and so happy to have had the invitation from Alan and to be reading with Barbara Jane and Tongo. So delighted. So here's some poems. As well as a little bit of prose introduction. So Toni Morrison, she tells us in The Site of Memory, they straightened out the Mississippi River in places to make room for houses and livable acreage. She tells us occasionally the river floods these places. Floods is the word they use, but in fact, it is not flooding. It is remembering where it used to be. All water has a perfect memory and is forever trying to get back to where it was. Writers are like that. Like water, I remember where I was before I was straightened out. And I am greeting you from where I was. I am in Philadelphia now. So much of our bodies is water. We are made to remember. our water dripping from one body to another, forming in another body, this change as conduit of memory. There is water in the blood, and these times it is hard to know how much blood there is in the water. So I'm going to call the names of my ancestors as holding space for them and for us. I share this story because every time I call their names, I discover something new. Most recently, I discovered the name of William Hart, who was one of my great, I think 7 times great grandfathers, who was originally called William Carmichael Hart. And his father was the one, the records tell us, made the forced journey, was forced to make the journey across the Middle Passage waters, that ocean of souls, and lived and with his partner brought a life. That's as close as I've gotten to the continent. But y'all, that I say my ancestors' names, there's this reaching to them and a reaching back to me. And there has been these amazing discoveries. And to get to that space of being able to say, William Carmichael Hart, his father was an African. We do not know his name. We do not know his languages or his people or his country, but we know that he made the journey and survived. And that is a telling for me. That is a lesson for me. That is a gift. So I call the names of my people. Their water is mine. My water is theirs. And in my calling of their names, I am remembering my own body, my own righteous mind. In sharing their names, I am not just myself, but I am Norma, Queen Esther, and Sarah, and Eliza, and Lizzie, and Lydia, and Sarah, and Albert, and Alberta, and Walter, and Sarah, and Walter Edward, and Julia, and John, and Annie, and Pinckney, and Annabelle, and Marshall, and Eliza, and Philip, and Josiah, and Louisa, and Abraham, and Sarah, and Alexander, and Amy, and Isham, and Amanda, and Nelson, and Ellen. I am George and Mary, Elizabeth, Solomon, William, Rachel, William Carey, Mariah and Betsy and William and Rebecca and Abraham and Rebecca and Boatswain and Elsie and Alan and Caroline, Harry and Sarah and John and Lizzie and Emelina and William and Lydia and Zachary and Sarah and Theophilus and Susanna. I am also Eddie and Juanita and Angelina and Venancia and Dominga and Teresa and Felix, Cornelia, Candido, Concepcion. I am Venancia, Juan, Maria Antonia, Antonia y Isaac. I am Bernarda y Canuto. I am Juan y Soledad, Miguel and Florencia, Leonardo, Antonia, Laureano, Juana, Marcelino, Juana Maria, Demetrio, Petrona, Maria Petrona, Rufino, Luis, Antonia, Benito, Casimira, Juan, Carmen. I am also Justo, Ana, Ramon, Dominga, Pedro, Teresa, Marcelino, y Maria. These are the names I know. These are the names that have known me and are discovering me, and I offer them to you. This meeting of my ancestors with yours. So this poem is for Theophilus. They wrote books of you, lover of God. So wide your eye and stout your pen, you planted your seed all throughout the Carolinas and across the salt waters in Santo Domingo before the darkness rose and the bodies you fondled like jewels. You raised your children in swelter, called them names like Franz and Thor's, Maria del Carmen, Maria Antonia, Ana Maria, Blessed Mother, their wombs, the records say you lost everything in someone else's freedom, except the 8 you stole, again to plant in a saintly founding. Oh, Saint Augustine, who was African, cathedrals rose above cages built in the bones. From you, a son who named a son, lover of God too, Theophilus, the one who sold her, Emelina. Emelina, they say That family did witchcraft. They learned the ways of Black gods and loved them to scarring. Did your people come from the land sutured by salt? You were sold for $800 with your 2 children to who would become uncle. Mine down a long river to you, his great grandson raped God. It can be said no other way, no way to say love. When you were solid like a rock carved to bleed, a birthing, a body, a passive silver, to whom does one confess this crime against God? Theophilus, more correctly translated as eater of God's flesh. By short Tonka. Owie, he says. This is cruel time for toddler hands, sun gone, the black dog wails, tail fur wound and pull, guiltless, sleeping face. Another poem for my son. Hover, above us there are no helicopters. Not like when the wind smelled like blood and soot, and every hour sirens wove their hair into ours and sung names to enchant cacophony. Weeks before, each time a plane scored the sky in white, you would point up, say, Mama, because I am always in the sky. Even when my skin burns in the sun next to yours, there are no helicopters today. You bang on a wheelbarrow with dried bamboo stalks as drumsticks and lift your toddler throat up to shout, Goto! Over and over again, a screamo chorus, lyrics perfectly formed to your ears. I nod only yes, keep beat with you, as if I could sing you a flight. A few streets away, marchers assemble with banners of I can't breathe. And even closer, I can hear the horns of a car parade inside the mourners shout behind masks from open windows while a virus flies around us all, pandemic and crown and white. There are no helicopters today. Koto, you yell. Somewhere they descend, somewhere a body hangs halfway between metal and earth. There are 5, and that's it. That's that poem. The next poem, I should have given this space to myself. It's called There Are 5 Seasons: Fall, Winter, Spring, Summer, and Fire. These lungs are a shadow haven. They never shout enough burn. All around there are fires, seducing wind, a season for tinder and ash coats, embers nestled implora for char. Are you righteous if you script the protest banner while you pant on the street for breath? A coffin is a long shadow no one sees. A street, a shadow for an asteroid set to block all shadows. What is creation except a vibrant blooming rising out of carcass, shedding, and so much shit? I never wanted to breathe so bad. Children pile on your chest while the numbers rise, faces unspool themselves for the last time. And this last poem, Decay, for my daughter. It was written today, and you'll see. I love watching my babies. They bring me such joy, and I hope I offer them as well so much joy. And then they also do things that are quite gross, and I try to smile anyway with the experimentation. Decay. Child, I am old and have learned so many rules of what and how to taste. How manufactured foam on a lightly poached egg refines the tongue, while sea sputal twists it to poison. And though gold clogs the intestines to stillness and cements there even in tiny flecks, their glitter going down is supposed to be something like capturing the sun, and is better than the day star's momentary grace on the studded palate, unfolded to sky as if to devour all light, they say. Child, what you would teach me about gluttony swirls like a water vortex in my throat. Would you see your mother a lost pirate in the sea of earthly delights, my fingers grubbed over in grass-balled dirt and crumbled leaves? What is the chemical composition of decay? The slow gift of the rising tree, whose name is hidden in brown detritus. Child, tell me about this second meal. So soon after the grit of the first, the sandbox, and just before the dessert of your own spit, as you suck your fingers, querida, describe how death ribbons in your mouth and offers you a new pucker and a distinct scrunch to your face. Is this how your first wrinkle of consternation forms? And when I die, will the leaves I eat taste like these? I disparage now, thinking them less fine on a menu you sample of garden. Will my own earth be sweet as I rise to meet them? Thank you all. I'm so happy to be here and so delighted to hear those who will come.
Thank you. That was lovely. I really enjoyed that. Next, we're going to go ahead and hear from Tongo, and I'll introduce him. Tongo Eisen-Martin is the author of Heaven is All Goodbyes and Someone's Dead Already. And his poetry has been featured in Harper's and New York Times Magazine. Heaven is All Goodbyes was shortlisted for the Griffin International Poetry Prize and awarded the California Book Award for Poetry, an American Book Award, and a Penn Oakland Book Award. It's also my coworker's favorite book of this year, if that means anything to people. And he is also a movement worker and educator whose work is in Rikers Island was featured in the New York Times. Thanks for being here, Tongo. I'll let you go ahead and take the stage now.
Thank you. Much love. Societies wander together like hopeful drops of a virus. Citizen testaments bent on offering me a nation of breadwinners to hold me back. Yeah, like it's a Brinks. I wrinkle the concrete sometimes like flesh. My Martin Luther King permanence turned away from a podium into the reeds like God is the dangerous twin. Black August to the mountaintop balcony on my bedroom floor, you know, they steal you from the earth itself and suspend you in your broken neck from their fullest euphoria, from the loyalty oath of their gray superstitions, loyalty oath of their agrarian reform. I return to my mother completely disrespected. For peeling the heat off of purgatory, they kill poets like me. Walk me away from my poems, never to be heard from again. In this final industrial complex of bloodlines picked through a sport and spiritual death that your devil at least half made, police become a pretty word. I'm reading a lynch mob shoestrings like they were tea leaves, teaching you how to write about cities. It's the 25th century in the mirror, people. Tyranny against your chump change, and you're a chump to be mocked even with a gun in your car. A cubit of needlework spelled tune for the proletariat, the relapse ministry, talented people curled up in a fetal position next to a diamond dime, just another day in the theatrics of tea house fascism, in a bouquet of surveillance cameras, in the poverty of God, new blue eyes, courses of water, newly potted presidency, or one big shiny coin if you're asking animated capitalism and other non-literal voids. Killing is white freedom, the deification of hyphens, medicine bread and picture shows, great protesters in LA, guests of our ink, drop kicking roses in the graveyard, DC mink like a stone torn in half, the pen advances despite CIA guideposts, despite non-African futures and past, the metaphorical but not surreal day in a horn-ridden life, horn player improvising king like a radio prize fight featuring Shango himself, a real hand sweeps the land of racism. May I return to the ground. May I make progress with the gun. Our mother, Emmanuel. You know, they put on music that evening, a swinging type body language for you to drink with fermented $5 bills for your body language, some applause. My past stomach lining, neither a good thing nor a bad thing, like being psychic on the way to a lethal injection. You know, it'll sit you down with Lady Day. Lady Day, leading youth who surrendered their souls to Africa too soon. Polity thought floating in a cup of water, she saved me, accessing my stomach, accessing the love of the American lynched. Coat sleeves wooden and avalanche into the wrist. Our mother Emmanuel, avalanche into the sharp keys, pain, the deal you make with pain. You know, piano makes sense for them, laying hands on the world gradually, addressing the bending necks on the streets of the north. Travelers sailing in pain, repeating pain in the north, 10 trigger fingers on that piano if harmony would have me, putting 100 fights on every direction, offered her Lady Day, leaning on trees again, recruiting the countryside itself. Hey, lay your plan out on this lightning, make your poems the corner pocket of men. I've greeted the blues itself, you know. America may clean my dead body, but will never include me. Hey, there goes the poet. Killing without killing. You know, don't mind this painting of your language. May I be a meaningful lynching. A crow's passing. Good and dead by the afternoon. You know, first I should have apologized to the souls of the house because I'm wearing the cheekbones of the mask only. Like a pill bottle whose name is yours, name tagged on the side of a factory of risks. I mean, the teeth of the mask now. Back of the head of the mask now, new phase of anti-anthropomorphism fending for real faces, stuck with one of those cultures that believes I chose this family. I'm not creative, just the silliest of the revolutionaries. My blood drying on my only jacket, the police state psychic middlemen evangelizing for the creation of an unmasses, an unmedgar, blood of a lamb less racialized or awesome prison sentence. Right angle made between a point on a Louisiana plantation and a 5-year-old's rubber ball 3 feet high and falling like a deportee plane to complete my interpretation of garden variety genocide. I am small talk about loving your enemies a little more realistically. About paper tigers and also gold. I need my left hand back. Broke my neck on a piano key, found paradise in the fist fight. Maybe I should check into the Cuban line. Watching the universe's last metronome, some call black Jacobins. Hey, just wait. These religions will start resigning in a decade or two. You know, some colorfully, some transactionally. In a cotton Gothic society, class betrayal gone glassless. I mean, ironically, my window started fogging over too as I was trying to figure out, you know, which Haiti would get me through the winter. Which poem houses souls? Which socialist breakthroughs? Breakthroughs like taking 10 steps back, then finally trying stillness, like introducing Gabriel Prosser to the loneliest month. I remember childhood. I remember the word childhood being a beginning. Scribbling on an amazing grace, I rendered this body from some circumference of slavery. Remember being kicked out the Midwest. Strange fruit theater, lithium and circuses, like-minded stomachs, the ruling class blessing their blank checks with levy phone, with opioid tea, sentient dollar bills yelling to each other pocket to pocket. Cello stands in the precinct for accompanying counter-revolutionaries. My mother raised me with a simple pain. A poet loses his mind, you know, like the room has weather or first girlfriend gravity shit. Difference between me and you is the madness wants me forever. A pair of apartments defining both my family and political composure. Books behind my back. Bail money paved into the streets playing euphoria, euphoria, cliche. Bracing for the rep medicine's recoil. Yeah, sharing a dirty deli sandwich with my friends, Black Jacobins, underground topography of a grandmother's hand, psychology of the mask now. Teeth of the mask again. I go to the railroad tracks and follow them to the station of my enemies. A cobalt-toothed man pitches pennies at my mugshot negative. All over the United States, there are toddlers in Iraq. Man, I see why everyone out here got in the big cosmic basket and why blood agreements mean a lot and why I get shot back at. I understand the psycho-spiritual refusal to write white history to take the glass freeway. White skin tattooed on my right forearm, ricochet sewage near where I collapsed into a rat-infested manhood. My new existence is living graffiti. In the kitchen with a lot of gun cylinders to hack up. House of God in part, no cops in part. My body brings down the Christmas. The new bullets pray over blankets made from the old bullets. Pray over the 28th hour's next beauty mark. Extrajudicial Confederate statue restoration, the waistband before the next protest post. Hey, by the way, time is not an illusion, Your Honor. I will save your deaths for last. You're witty, Your Honor. You're moving money again, Your Honor. Hey, it is only raining one thing. Non-white cops and prison guard shadows reminded me of spoiled milk floating on an oil spill. The neighborhood making a lot of fuss over his demise. A new lake for a Black Panther party. Malcolm X's ballroom jacket slung over my son's shoulder. The figment of village, a new noose to a new white preacher, all in an abstract painting of a president. Hey, look, bought slavery some time, didn't it? The tension screeches of military boats and election Tuesday cars, a cold-blooded study in leg irons, proof that some white people have actually fondled nooses. Sundown couples made their vows of love over opaque peach plastic and boat action audiences. The Medgar Evers second is definitely my favorite law of science. Fondle news clippings and primitive Methodists, my arm changes imperialisms. Simple policing versus structural frenzies. Elementary school script versus even wider white spectrums. Artless bleeding and the challenge of watching civilians think of terrible rituals they have around the corner. Now they let their elders beg for public mercy. I'm gonna go ahead and sharpen these kids' heads in the arrows myself and see how much gravy spills out of family crest. Modern fans of war, what, with their t-shirt poems and t-shirt guilt, and me having on the cheapest pair of shoes on the bus, I had no choice but to read the city walls for signs of my life. When a drummer is present, they are God. I'm not an I. I'm a black commons. I'm writing my new tattoo out on bus station glass, making tattoos all afternoon, trying to talk myself into seeing the decade through. I must really be the devil's front man, staring at an empty bus that I imagine, in fact, carries paintings of people. And a man drunk behind the wheel has to choose between a black and white toddler after school in America on a California street that doesn't need a name, North California. Man, nobody on the street has a job, and therefore no one is there. I colored my oppressor's gun and danced for a form in the same day. The joke began. The walk on the bus seats is fine by me as long as I get to the front. The joke concluded. And Tuesday is rotten soup or downhill entertainment or commotion in the ashtray, the day that jail quotas get filled, or the day that the planet plays flat. And maybe a capitalist sets stadium seats on fire and calls it economic progress. Communists got plenty of time to finish their cigarette and lie to their boss. A killer lying down in front of a tank. I have a small statue built in my chest and also an anchor upside down in the air. Worried about the walls, I forgot that the ceiling was closing in on me too. That's my take on my alcoholism. I'm hunched over a meal I ate 5 years ago. That's my take on the look on my face. Cursed got a little, took another step up the staircase, and for a second, I forgot all occupants of the world, beginning with this house. I'm an action hero of one street proportions. Rap music is the way to count blessings. The 80s were better than this fiction. I have a piece of fence meshed through my skull. I'll be half eaten my entire life, always walking beside myself with a gun to my head and another one pointed at passersby. And it's like half of me, all of you walking in and out of myself, but I'm always happy to see you with a miraculous route you took through my threat. Honest pay, a knife in my arm, honest pay in my chest, a broken lock on a monument. Tell you the truth, I forget what my hands look like, what I did with them, or what kind of third eye the handcuffs cut into my wrist. I talk facing away from the dead. They replaced me with the change in my pocket, a penny that's yet to be invented. They say you have to know how to cut a throat on the way to cutting a throat. After sleeping on a mattress made from 2 garbage bags of clothes, I became content with the small gestures of plantation fires. Playing with couch ashes, I realized how weird the universe was. It exists in so many places, so many random things. It interrupts me while I'm trying to dream, like your clay correspondence, Lord. To be transparent, I have 20 books next to a bullet like an old man giving advice at the beginning of a revolution. I've really done it, Lord. Explored the mumbles of my mind, explored what's naturally there, and I found no brainwashing. I found Africa, Lord. I have a future. It takes place in the diasporic South. I have morning possessions, modern militancy. Windows to the South. I will walk on a missile for food. I guess you will not want flowers for a few years, Lord. Will I be tied face to face with the country I murdered? Merge with us, Lord. Our old metal versus new metal. Our old metal versus a pool of meandering imperialist faces, a multiculturalism of sorts. The dead replaced me with a comedian's chest cavity instead of a chest cavity held tight. It takes a violent middleman for me to talk to myself. Stories that travel through other people's stories. A song about a song, a hemisphere about a hemisphere. Stories that travel through a conquered poet. My mother remembers Africa, Lord. She killed on behalf of you, Lord. I wore a machete all winter and no one asked me what it meant. Man, I read 1,000 books in front of the world. What I do is fight poems and sleep through decadent San Francisco prayer circles, watch people play for post-working class associative services, or recreations of a governor's desk, ruling class order utility plan, find a sociopathic bureaucrat. A day some white people scare even easier. TV in a basket next to a ceramic baby, wearing ceramic armor, musket progeny fantasizing through the art of the poor. Their trendy latches locked before God, black art hunted down like a dog. And hand over, my friends, Lord. Lord, I think I'm going to die in a war. Unelected white people in my small house like a blues song with no spiritual effect, a dollhouse H-bomb, a pony show near dead bodies, apartheid weddings that go right, apartheid white people who give birth to mathematicians, the spiritual continuity of barracks and police stations, the chemical interpretation of a Sunday trip to church, church smells in their pockets, a river mistaken for a talking river, no autobiography outside of small personal victories of violence and drug use, made in the image of God trinkets, where white abolitionists confided in their children about. Chemical assurances that they will switch from black artists to white artists, from black guy to white guy, from black worker to white worker. I think about you cautiously, Lord. In the same way I think about my childhood. Foxhole Friday nights, most of life is music. Comedian points out a planet's field to a priest, king, sugar cane, king, cotton king, revolutionary, the Bible essential, containing all modes of shallow introduction, introducing an unlisted planet class, speaking about fevers and balance sheets and reassuring the masses that we can figure out our fathers later. You know, a priest took my mother lightly, Lord. Stood in front of parishioners, re-raveling fantasies about black art, priest reading confidently before I broke him and broke his parallels. Shit, after the day, I've never been a poet before. Little brother watches his big brother's friends, man. They lean rifles on shelter walls. They agree with me and call it literature. It's a simple matter, this revolution thing. To really lie to no one. To keep nothing godlike. To write a poem for God.
Thank you. That was amazing. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and introduce both Barbara and Alan now, and that way we can end heavy on poetry and have a little less of me. That feels right in this context. So 2 introductions, and then we'll let them get rolling. All right, so Barbara Jane Reyes was born in Manila, Philippines, and was raised in the San Francisco Bay Area. She is the author of 5 previous collections of poetry: Gravities of Center, Poeta in San Francisco, which received the James Laughlin Award of the Academy of American Poets; Dewata, which received the Global Filipino Literary Award for Poetry; To Love is a Swan, Invocation to the Daughters, and Letters to a Young Brown Girl. She is an adjunct professor at the University of San Francisco's Yuchenko Philippine Studies program. Thanks for being here, Barbara. Alan Chazaro is the author of This Is Not a Frank Ocean cover album and Pinata Theory. He is a graduate of June Jordan's Poetry for the People program at UC Berkeley, a Florence Lawrence Ferlinghetti Fellow at the University of San Francisco, and co-founding editor of Headfake, an online NBA zine. Thanks for being here, Alan. I'm going to let you all do your thing now.
Thank you so much for having us at Green Apple, and it's a pleasure to be reading with you all, Raina, Tongo, and Alan. So I'm going to start with a prayer from Poeta in San Francisco, which is a book that I feel like I wrote about 20 years ago. It's a book I think I wrote about 20 years ago. She whispers desert trees, thorn-ridged, trickling yellow candles, roots spilling snake's blood, virgin of ribbon silk, virgin of gold filigree. One day's walk westward, a crucifix of fishermen's dinghy dimensions washes the shore. Virgin, adorned in robe of shark embryo and coconut husk. She fingers mollusks, wraps herself in sea vines. Virgin of ocean voyage peril, she wills herself born. Virgin of mud brick ruins, virgin of sandstorm echoes, she is saint of commonplaces, saint of badlands, virgin of jade, camphor, porcelain, virgin of barter for ghosts. Penitents, earth divers of forgotten names, praying skyward. Virgin of scars blossomed from open veins of fire. She slips across the Pacific's rivers of pearl diving children, virgin of copper coins. She is bloodletting words, painting on likeness, virgin of anachronism. Children stained with berries and rust, their skeletons bend arrow-tipped. Smoke blurs eyes' edges. Virgin of mineral depletion, virgin of mercury. At other altitudes, she remembers to breathe a monument scraping cloud. Virgin of tin deposits extracted from mountains. These are not divinations, there's gold leaf about her skin. Virgin of naming and renaming places in between. Dear brown girl, what if nobody ever reads you, but every young, hungry brown girl who crosses your path? Please let them be visible to you. Their eyes are so wide, they have rarely ever seen a woman like you. They see you speak like you have forgotten the fear, the harm speaking brings brown women like you. daughters of spilling bodies and sutured mouths. They never knew brown women like you were real, speaking head held high, speaking like you know, and because you know that you know. They are holding your words so close to their bodies, the way we were all taught to cradle a newborn babe, like they were taught to hold God's words so close to their hearts. They are breathing in your pages. They can't bear to remember what it was like before they found you. What if they are the only ones who ever read you? Would that be so bad? Brown girl fields many questions. If you want to know what we are, whose body parts are scattered to the winds, dispersed as heirloom seeds into the beaks, stomachs, and droppings of migratory birds, broken through our clear film of rage to leaf and fruit, no matter what the territory or terrain, in which you may indicate a hearer of unspecified identity, a second person narrator, such that you was really meant to be an I, a we, regardless of whether the hearer, onlooker, or reader wishes to be included or addressed, in which no may indicate awareness through observation or inquiry, having information regarding, having a personal experience of, in which the English we is crude, lacking in the specific exclusive and inclusive distinctions of the Tagalog tayo and kami, in which what is a pronoun choice you might find curious, not who, which indicates personhood or personified thing, but what, as in concept, as in phenomenon, as in the object you already believe the we is, in which if is the operative word, the contingent term, in case that, on the condition that, despite the possibility that, even though. Here are some questions you may try to consider. What's it like to be collected and shelved by people who say they dig your island oriental tropical look, your dark lidless eyes, your endless straight black hair? What's it like for them to tell you with their round, wide eyes how lovely your accent is? They can't identify where it's from though, and yet you still speak such good English. How is that possible? What's it like to have white people coming up so close, gawking and poking at your flat little nose, your little body, touching your silky hair? What's it like to hear them tell you 24/7 that they wish that they could bottle your skin like a liquid boutique bronzer for that tawny warm gold, all that glow? What's it like to be this sun-kissed, plump-lipped, almond-eyed, fine-boned, tiny thing, to be so precious and treasured and sublime? What's it like to be so treasured, to be trafficked? What's it like to be locked in for your own good, so no one will get their oily fingerprints on you, so that no one can hear your soft, soft asking voice? What's it like when they mispronounce your alien name and shrug, when they tell you your ass should be deported? What's it like when they push you off the sidewalks and into the gutters? What's it like when they ask you if you were bought from a catalog? What's it like when they mistake you for the help, the nanny, the maid, the janitor, the dishwasher, when they say, you speak such good English, how is that even possible? What's it like when they ask whether your mother was a green card hunting whore, a nudie dancer near a military base, a drug addict, a welfare cheat? What's it like when they say you are an illegal, when they say fucking monkey, when they ask why you eat dog, when they call you a dirty Filipino? What's it like when they tell you you should be grateful? What's it like when white kids in a prom limo yell, fucking Jap, go back to China? What's it like when big white dudes get in your face shouting, anything not white's not right? Who will remind you of Below Sun's songs of love? This meant something to you once. Who will remind you where the heart is, there, between your third and fourth rib? Who will blame you for effacing your face, for peeling your skin from your body? What's it like when white people yell at you that you ruined the neighborhood because you people kept landing at SFO and goddamn Minetta is named after you people now? You took over our church. You took over our market. You took over our donut shop. You took over our liquor store. You took over our beauty salon with your chatter and your babies. What's it like when they yell at you that you have so many damn babies? Now you are taking over Silicon Valley and all the schools, and now everything smells like fried fish and feet, all the weird shit you people eat. This place was quiet, but now your grandma's yelling who knows what to your uncles and your cousins. Why can't she just speak English? Fix your busted cars in the driveway parked on the weeds in your junk front yard. They're spilling into our street. You're parked in front of my home. Move your damn car. Stay away from my daughters. Stay away from my dog. Fix your lawn. This is not the ghetto where you belong. What's it like when they yell, how many goddamn illegals can you pack into that little house? Fix your paint job. This is not the ghetto. There are so many of you. You've snatched up all the houses. You built over the old orchards. You picked the apricots, gladiolas, and almonds. We remember the mustard flowers and dragonflies. Our children rode their ribbon bicycles, but now your boys racing rice rockets break the quiet into pieces. You killed our peace. You stupid Filipinos can't even drive. What's it like when they say your boys are hoodlums and your sisters are indecent? All your girls are whores. Just go back to where you came from. Go back to where you came from. Go back because you don't belong here, because we never wanted you in our neighborhood. How are you still here, working, hustling like a motherfucker? How haven't you given up? When everybody tells you not to speak, how are you speaking? How haven't you disappeared into your sheets, into the dark, with the window shut and the front door bolted? How do you step outside your front door every day? How do you stand and walk that walk? How aren't you afraid, sister? Were your parents afraid? How did they teach you to be so still? Please teach me how to be still like you. I'm going to read a couple more of these Dear Brown Girl letters, and I will pass the mic over to Dear Alan. Dear Brown Girl, after all this, you still ask me how it is I arrived at the poem. I want to tell you something about my rounded, looping penmanship in berry-scented ink. I want to tell you about typing my words on an old typewriter, pushing its carriage return, poems with no correction tape. I want to tell you about drafts upon handwritten drafts, about the smell and feel of so much cream and marbled Florentine paper, about cutting class and taking the afternoon to shop for handcrafted notebooks and writing implements. I want to tell you about my pink inked lowercase i's dotted with chubby hearts. I held so much unrequited sweetness. I want to say I was waiting, but I don't know what I was waiting for. So much ache, so much breaking. I want to say so much about silencing and time. And then this will be my last poem, actually. We'll stop here. Squeeze your hand into a fist. Now loosen just a bit. They say that is the heart. Heat, fiber, sugar. Cut around its core, score, and invert. Take your teeth to its golden flesh and bite. They say this is the heart of a lovely girl. In these stories, there is always a girl, lovely as that dream just before waking. There is always a girl whose dainty feet make light where she toe taps the earth so soft. Elders tell her patience will saint her, and so she waits. There is always heartbreak, chambers washed in longing, pulsing inside the body. She waits. They say she waited with the waning moon. Until the dawn, she waited. Press your index finger and tall finger into the underside of your jawbone and count. And that is what I have for today. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Barbara, Reyna, Tongo, Green Apple. It's surreal for me to be reading with the three of you, to be honest, because you've all mentored or taught me or literally been my professors within the past years since I moved back to the Bay 5 years ago. And I'm just super humbled to be here with you all and to be following all of you, to be honest. I kind of feel like a rookie that's like, going after like Curry and Klay Thompson and Iguodala in a 3-point contest. And then they're just like, yo, take a shot. But each one of you definitely inspires me in different ways, as a writer and as a person, and as a, Bay Area activist and artist and all of these things that all of you are. So I've actually taken a moment before the reading to pick poems that I think, one for all of you, that I think reflect some of your spirit in some of what I'm doing. So I'll start with Reyna's poem. I chose this poem because ever since I've known Reyna, she's reminded me of, home and like motherland, but also mothering and preserving and nurturing. And some of this poem kind of gets at that for me in my own way. So it's called Photo for My Unborn Child. I'm riding the BART from the airport, observing what's outside. Corrugated fences with spray painted messages. This is sacred land. Fuck pigs. Die techie scum. The homes are historic and diverse as the people who breathe inside them, colorful and sprawling along a muscular shore. Your mother grew up here on 55th, around the corner from her cousin's tire shop and the bar your grandpa would take her to perform a Mariah Carey karaoke as a kid to crowds of drunken Mexicanos. The shop is closed now, and the bar boarded up with graffitied wood. But the house remains, with the ceiling your abuelo painted as the night sky. We will take you to see it someday, so you can study how constellations are formed from the darkness of our mouths. Yeah, I'm always like blown away by your grace, Reyna. Reyna has 2 kids and just moved cross country like out of nowhere recently, and she's just so put together. And as I said, you have goddess energy, and I really appreciate that about you and being around you in spaces with you. For my boy Tongo, I picked something that is reflective of the violences and the brutalities of our upbringings and of our systems. And I don't know how Tongo does it, but if you were here for his reading, like this dude just taps into this other energy wavelength, right? And I'm just like really awed by that ability that you have. So this is my baby version of what you're doing. Self-portrait as American. I say fuck because it feels right about now. And I say love because what wrong could it bring? I haven't shot a pistol since my stepdad flung his Desert Eagle from the bedroom and took us to burst freedom as kids. The smell of sulfur and devil, the pinch of steel between my 10-year-old fingers. I didn't seek this, was never good at hitting body-sized targets, kept my eyes shut while I curled the trigger. It's heavier than you think to hold and release thunder. Not like the movies, but somehow like the movies. Ears still ringing, vibrations in my bones. It's a short little poem, but wrote that in 2016 when Elote Head was initially elected. And obviously we're all sort of processing what that meant for us. And the last poem that I've chosen to read for you all is, well, for the group here, Barbara's poem. Barbara, you've been the one here who's, you know, actually been my professor, and I've held workshops with you. And some of the poems in this book are poems that I workshopped with you. And you were the first and the only brown professor that I had at my time at USF. And for me, growing up in the Bay Area as a Mexican American with hella Filipino friends, like I was so happy when you walk in the classroom and you feel like you just automatically feel a sense of empowerment, right? So yeah, I know you're super rooted in who you are and your culture and your heritage, and you're always speaking, you know, for that. So this is a poem about my heritage, and it's called A Pocho Boys Mixtape, A side. This midday reposado has me torn and twisted, and listening to mariachis and tlaquepaque is the death I'm asking for. Siempre hay picante aquí, mijo. My tío tells me after every question. It took me a while to stop asking and start taking. At first, it jarred against my bones. I am no chupacabra, but I've learned every man is capable of eating even without appetite. And maybe I'm more obsessed with swallowing the lies that scrape the floors of our imaginations. For example, I visited the birthplace of Mexican independence in Dolores Hidalgo. I ate a plate of overpriced arrachera in the plaza. A man in a wheelchair asked for money. His eyes felt empty. His palms held nothing. After, I visited the jail cell where historians declared Mexico's birth. I don't mean to imply we are still barred from each other, but sometimes these mountains make it difficult to look back. B-side. I'm sitting in a courtyard with Acapulco chairs, flamingo pink, lime green, avoiding April's taxes. I don't have to file for myself in Mexico, but back in the States, I know they'll ask for more than my mother's peace. And what's the cost of leaving a country to return to your abuelo's arms? I've walked through minefields while somersaulting with boots, balancing a crown that isn't worth much, but weighs more than my California household. Income isn't always incoming for everyone here. Circles don't become trapezoids overnight. They require different angles to be muscled from the promise of each morning's arrival. But who cares about simple geometry when nothing shapes up? My barber at Doberman's tells me about his mother as he fades me out. She's a professional at cleaning up after the dreams of European tourists at a hotel in Colonia Reforma. My fear, being kidnapped by space pirates and beheaded for the syllables inside my wallet. It's sensationalist, I know, but what's a peso to a dollar if they take away my hands? Seaside. I dig through remixed crates of myself, wax pressed into the grooves of forever. Then I spin that shit for play like the B-side brujas on East 14th. All night, like Brianna's grandma when she would hit the local clubs on San Pablo to find a Mexican man with nice eyes. They come here for work, but we work them for us. It's hard not to romanticize the struggle of certain memories beneath disco lights, between cheap liquor, behind mustaches and Camaros parked in front of the house. Our roof is shingled but falling apart. There are parts of my neighborhood that aren't up to code. We have a shed in the back where Bernardo used to sleep and dreamed of sunflowers scented in lawnmowers gasoline. Don't forget, there are more than two sides to every story, just like there are more than two stories inside every mouth. So that's my tribute to all of you and how much you mean to me as writers and as people. I'll read a couple more just because I hella like the energy that you've all like set for this space. Thank you. This next one is called "These Hours Are So Colored and Wasteful." We all carry certain amounts of piñata inside us, stringed to whatever tiny or giant truths we've tied ourselves to. Nowadays, there's so much dangling that I've forgotten the vowels crutched inside my mouth. A question. What would you say if I were California's redwoods and you were the morning frost clinging my branches? Explain the machinery of whalebones and the circuitry billowing our ribs. I want to believe that there is still electricity in my blood, that there is more to our days than these colored and wasteful hours being vultured. Give me what's next. The uncrossed canyon in your hands. Summon the perfect hit. I need to know. Would you rather crawl in your own thirst or feast through my starvation? Swing, they've been telling me. Obviously, I wrote about a piñata, sort of. And like the metaphor of the piñata for me, the Pinata Theory came from the idea of things that are built to be destroyed and things that are built from scraps too, right? Like warehouse scraps and beautified and covered and then filled up and then bashed publicly and brutally like celebrated in the bashing. And then everybody scrambles to collect what has been, spilled and eats it and consumes it. And that's the feeling that I feel like as a first generation Mexican American with immigrant parents that it's something about it just spoke a lot to me. So a lot of the poems kind of reflect on that frequency. Damn, we're talking about, I was gonna give him a Kendrick Lamar poem here. So I'll make this my last poem. It's an ode to Kendrick Lamar. There he is. There are nights like tonight when it rains biblical amounts of everything and music plays while I drive somewhere I usually don't go after dark because I get lost in my head while my wife plans for next week. And I try to decide where to park and when to leave, but instead I down IPAs and smash In-N-Out burgers into my gut before the smallest words can crawl out forced. Some days I feel the dark rushing, a tidal wave of fuck yous cresting my insides. I double knot my Timbs and avert eye contact in a hoodie and baseball cap. I am not this facade, have never sailed a fist into a stranger's skull, but there is a thunderstorm coming and I must know my way. Tomorrow, I'll drive a pickup to the end of the road on the other side of 880. I'll park and read poetry while 18-wheelers rumble within inches of my chest. It's what excites and repels my attention while riding this neighborhood. How the blood of sweetgrass reminds me of something else. Thank you, everybody. We need to do this again soon. Like, I miss seeing you all in person. Gracias.
Thank you all so much. Thank you for being here and sharing your time with us and your poetry, of course. And thank you everyone who attended the event tonight. We hope you can make it out to more. Again, all our events are on our website, greenapplebooks.com, as are our lovely writers' books. It's really important to support your local writers, and we know it's a way we like to show appreciation for them. So if you're able to, please consider checking their books out. Again, they're all under this event page, so they should be super easy to find. Thank you again, everyone. And with that, we'll say goodnight.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you.